Fenrir, Izanami, and Chalk's aspect all gaining anti-heal. And then let's get right into the list of gods. There are a lot. We're not going to go in depth on every single god change because most of them are of the nature that Pon was talking about, just reduced healing or lifesteal.
I think to keep things simple, I'll go. This was on the 30% side. This is closer to 50%.
Either while I'm live, Elvin, you can ask if anybody in there wants to play, or you can just do it in general. We don't have like a. There's not specifically happening enough to where like I would need to make like a looking for people to play with type channel. So just ask in the general chat if anybody's looking to play Smite, and sometimes people are, sometimes they aren't. But coming in my stream too is often a pretty good one, considering I'm live 8 hours a day.
Yeah, so lifesteal, this one is more like we've kind of kept most things to be 50% unless it's really, really conditional. So this is just the 50% reduction that matches the item effects.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. We'll probably spend a little bit more time on Afro just because, as Pon mentioned, she is getting a couple of compensation kind of buffs to her utility.
Yeah, so her heal is both relatively free, especially for herself. She does have to link to a target to heal them as well, so there's a little bit of friction there. But she's known for her healing. We've largely reduced it by about like half.
You're all good, Elvin. All good.
There. And we just expect that
we don't have a special section to ask in the Discord, so one second, I got a piece.
Yourself more consistently, out of combat healing is going to be reduced. So overall, this should be probably a nerf to her ability to like just sustain herself freely outside of lane, but her ability to save her teammates should go up, especially with things like having Undying Love more frequently, as well as having Kiss sharing more protections more quickly, as well as also just having access to healing utility items that allow her to heal more frequently as well, or bring different utility for healing.
Yeah, I mean you can double love bursts now.
Yeah.
With,
yeah.
Which one is that?
Heartwood Charm.
Triple if you get Mirrodin as well.
Yeah,
you know?
You can triple if you want to. Yeah.
All right. Up next, Artemis Aspect. This was a funny one to where we were thinking about, is this really a healing ability or is it not? But
yeah. So I guess so is now marked as a healing ability, as you'll see on basically all of these. We went back and forth about what should count and what shouldn't, and I think we just largely went on, if you heal from this ability, it's a healing ability.
Yeah.
Being more restrictive might just feel arbitrary. So even though like you're not super known for this, it's going to be a healing ability. Same as Sickening Strike was like another case. Like you're more there for the damage, but the heal does matter. So we want to make sure it was tagged as a healing ability, which means when you get items like cooldown reduction on healing abilities, or immediately reset your cooldown abilities. That works.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so this somewhat free healing. So we just wanted to reduce it close to probably the 40% mark.
All right, Bacchus up next. Chug and Belch to the Gods.
A relatively free heal, but it also didn't have any scaling, so we didn't go super crazy on it. So just a reduction here.
Yeah, and then Bacchus is our first example of the gods who have anti-heal in their kit is getting reduced to 25%.
Yep.
Next up, Baron Samdi. A little bit more here with Baron.
Yeah, so he's closer to the 50% mark on his heal. It requires a hit, but it's not that hard to hit the ability, especially in a team fight. It immediately heals like your whole team around you and where you hit. So we didn't fully take away from the missing health scaling 50%, so that's still there strong. You still have your cooldown rate scaling, and then as our compensation for that, we made the speed buff more intense.
Yes. All right. Next up, Bologna Scourge. Just decrease the healing.
Yep, just increase the heal scaling. We think the base there largely makes sense. It's not a crazy amount of healing. You have to get in range and actually melee your target and stay in your Scourge stance. But the scaling component could make that go really, really high, so that's the part that we're taking down.
All right, Cabrakan is up next.
So Cabrakan, this is the enhanced refraction shield. This one is on the basically lowest end. You have to get to the enhanced one and you have to hit someone. So, and this isn't a crazy amount of healing, so just not as much.
Yeah. All right, Cerberus up next. A few changes here.
So the healing reduction on his passive, that's now 25%, so he's there.
Yeah.
I meant to check this before the show because I remember I had a wording question that it's gonna bite me. So people will be less anti-healed, which means that the amount that you get back from your passive is different. And I want to say that the amount you get back from your passive isn't actually conditional on that. It's just a amount that heal would do. So I don't know if this actually, I wanted to go test a few scenarios and like more definitively say if this was a buff or a nerf. So I need to go look at that after this. I still have some time before we fully branch, but I wanted to look at that specific interaction because it came up on the PTS as well, and I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But there's that part of it. But also Soul Expulsion, you have to leap onto a god, so you have to then follow up and kill those minions, just less.
Cool. All right, Kernanos is up next with his Spring Stance and Shifter of Seasons.
Yep, so you have to hit your base attack, you have to sit in Spring Stance, so I didn't want to hit this by full half. especially at the early ranks where you have like only a rank in this ability. We didn't want to make it too low on the lifesteal. But the actual heal scaling, the scaling late game side of things, if you really build towards that stat, then the healing becomes really significant, and we wanted to hit that more aggressively.
Yeah. All right. Chalk up next.
Yep. So overflow takes a little bit of effort, so close to half, especially because it's intelligent scaling based rather than just a flat amount. Same with Rain Dance. The scaling portion of it got halved, while the base amount of it didn't get halved. So if you're going the strength chalk build, you won't notice as much of a difference here. If you're going that more heal focused build, you will notice more of a change.
I had like 2,000.
Cupid up next. Another one
Before I
with
stole
a little
power,
bit
that is
more
true.
heavy nerfs, but some other compensation buffs in place of that.
Yes.
This is the big update.
Yep. So again,
This is part of the update.
These are relatively free to pick up. They're pretty strong.
This is the
They're
big
not
update. We
quite
just
as
didn't get
free
all the
because you do have to position
information
and actually get them,
right
so they're not
away.
quite as nerfed.
All those
He gets
changes
the
to
attachment
items
buff
and
for-
healing, this
so
was
if
part
he
of it.
picks
You
up,
got they just
they'll
didn't
get
have time
10%
to
attack
cover
speed. If an ally picks it
everything.
up, they'll get 10%
So
attack
they,
speed and
if they're
10%
getting rid of
attack
anti-heal, they
speed.
have to
it's
nerf all the
never
healing,
downside
not
for
only
your
on
teams to pick
items
up
but
the cards.
also in
those
God
don't
kits.
stack, so he doesn't get like 30 if all three are picked up.
Oh no, it's 30.
Oh,
Okay, sweet.
okay.
All right, I'm just
That's a
making
good-
sure.
That's a good thing to call out.
It's pretty good. This might be too good. We might end up making it so it's only one, but this one just felt like an interesting thing, and there's not really any other rules with the other things that he shares, so I just wanted to keep that consistent.
Yeah.
Field to Love, similarly, decreased scaling. Because we gave him such a strong one, I was a little bit more heavy-handed on this one, because even though it's an ult level cooldown, it could also heal for just a lot, and the fact that we're giving more of a compensation buff there. And then the aspect, that's further healing that he can get. It wasn't hit as much as well, just because you have to actually be near the target that you heart bomb, which is a little bit more conditional for your teammates, so not as heavily hit.
Cool. All right. Next up, Donzaburo, Alluring Spirits.
It's just free healing. Didn't want
For
to.
free. You just pop it and you heal.
Yep. Didn't want to hit the base. This one is if you're on the intelligence side, we just don't want you to heal as much there.
Yep. All right. Fenrir up next. Lifesteal nerf, but he also is getting the added anti-heal to his
Yeah,
kit
and
too.
it's not quite the 50% lifesteal nerf, just because his ability to leverage it like Anubis does was a little bit less, and we also just think that this could use a buff in general.
Cool. All right. Guan Yu up next. Going to spend some time on Guan just
Yes.
because there are some changes based off of some of the PTS feedback that we got. So, Conviction, you can see here this increased self cooldown reduction from 2 to 3 seconds has been crossed out. That was
Yes.
initially the plan. We've decided to not do that, but instead increase the ally cooldown reduction.
Yeah, it made the cooldown healing build too effective on PTS. We have a few other nerfs in that vein as well. We think it's actually probably better to just make the ally side of it, because one, it's harder for like allies to abuse that cooldown reduction the same way, and two, it's also just team utility that he can bring in addition to what he was bringing before. But because Conviction has a little cooldown, it's so frequent, it's pretty easy to hear teammates. This one's getting pretty much the full anti-heal adjustment that we've talked about. And then Aspect of General just essentially received the mirror of that change as well.
Cool. All right. Hades up next.
So this one, again, pretty easy to trigger. You do have to mark targets. This one was a little bit where we went back and forth about if we wanted to go this far, but the fact that he gets protections and intelligence scaling on it, and we've made it easier for him to like actually apply to people, we felt like we'd go on the heavier side of things. It's also one of the reasons right now, like his kind of bruisery side is really strong right now, which we've seen it as potentially needing a nerf as well. So it's kind of a balanced adjustment in that regard. So that's why his is a bit harsher.
Hercules up next, mitigate wounds, kind of in the same vein.
Yep. So the base heal.
I have not played
is
any
relatively
PTS, but I've
strong.
watched
It did
Bobby
get
and Final K
adjusted,
play each night, and
the
then we've been
heal for
chatting
this
about
is
what
taken
changes
again.
need to be
Also
made
didn't
on
get
what's
just
like
as much.
stupid
This one
strong
was
in the
contentious
Ambassador
in our
Discord the past 3 days.
discussions on, yes, this might end up being nerfed more, but we feel like it is conditional on you actually having to take damage. You're not going to be healing back as much. We'll see how this one pans out. It's really focused on like the tankier side builds too. If you're squishy Hercules, like your jungle Herc and you're just going high damage, you're probably going to fall over anyway. But if you're playing the tank side of things, that side we felt has needed a buff in general, and we've tried to do a few adjustments in that path as well, or down that path as well. So we'll see if this needs to be nerfed more, but that's where it's sitting for now.
Hua Mulan up next, just decreasing the healing.
Yep, just decreasing the healing. It's conditional, so it didn't get the major adjustment. So again, not like the other characters where like they do just big AoE healing. This one's more focused around self. And in these types of changes, right, the general idea is, yeah, your out of combat healing when you're just kind of fighting certain things goes down, but your in combat healing should be generally on average higher. So this should feel better, like when you're in the middle of a team fight, you've dove the enemy team.
Yeah.
Same with Achilles, you should feel like you're actually healing more in those circumstances.
Cool. All right, Kali up next, and there is a lot here, plus some additional changes based off of PTS feedback,
every single
right?
time now we make a balance change to Kali, I end up realizing her notes just have to be long.
Yeah.
There's just so much to it now. Yeah, so she's probably the first example that we've come across of a character that is super high risk, high reward, plays with their health. Thanatos is the other one that comes to mind. So her adjustments are a lot more interesting in that regard. So we're decreasing the passive heal, we're decreasing the mark heal assist even more. We still want kills to be pretty rewarded if you actually kill your execute target. If that's too low, the reward just doesn't feel satisfying. But getting that incidental assist when that happens, that one can be nerfed by half. The missing health heal from her 1 is also...
I always sleep better with a consistent routine, yeah. Like, even when I sleep down here during the subathon, my quality of sleep is not as good, even if the duration is the same.
The base got closer to like the 40% mark on the nerf. The heal per stack being...
Like, I don't feel tired, but I can tell my efficiency of quality of sleep during the duration wasn't nearly as good as when I'm in routine of like where I sleep and the place and everything.
You decrease the heal bonus. That's just a flat amount. That one, because you have to actually land a whole bunch of auto attacks on a target, we felt we could keep a little bit strong. But the one thing that came up was the lifesteal in her ultimate makes it so that she can really easily spike her health up really, really quickly. And even 15% was probably too high. If we weren't doing this healing pass, we probably would have nerfed this already. So like that, we would have probably taken it from like 15 to 25 to like 15 to 20. So now this is kind of more mirroring like a balance change we would have made.
Yeah. All right. Up next, Mordred.
And I do see quite a lot of people talking about like, is this a nerf or a buff? We saw healers doing pretty well on the PTS. It's really hard to evalue these changes because, yeah,
we're going to need a lot more data.
Decrease down the board, but again, the whole context of healing items that work off healing abilities, like Kali now has access to Vital Amplifier, which is just a very good item. Bologna has access to Vital Amplifier, which is really good. Hercules has access to his Regrowth Striders, which is a really good combo.
New shoes.
A lot of the healers now have access to like double heal when they really need to spike someone up, and they know that's not going to be anti-healed nearly as effectively now. Like, it's going to be really hard to value these changes, and that's why we're going to be really fast to respond to these. But I see people be like, "Oh yeah, this character's dead. This character's dead." It's like, we did want to go probably on the side of if we were waving.
Some characters that you think are dead are not dead. I promise you. I promise you, you cannot assess if they're dead by looking at the stat things.
Being too aggressive. Yeah. But we do want to find a good balance point for these abilities. So, on to Mordred.
Yes.
The scaling components for both of these. The base mount we didn't want to adjust for him, but the scaling components when he actually builds either a whole bunch of intelligence or a whole bunch of protections, that's the part we want to hit more directly.
Yep. All right. Neith is up next.
Neith. This one was actually the one that gave us the half damage on Heartwood, because otherwise you could just double unravel, get a whole bunch of weaves, and that was just really good damage. It's not too difficult to hit, so we did a more aggressive hit, especially on the scaling side. The base amount remained unchanged for the more strength-oriented Neith.
All right, Nemesis up next. Retribution.
We decreased the heal of the damage blocked because it is just conditional amendment of damage that you're taking. So we didn't want to hit this too much. This is probably the only one that's not the 30% adjustment low end. But the scaling, when you actually build a whole bunch of intelligence, that's the part that got hit more directly.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to call out with Nemesis, just because I've seen questions about it, the ultimate is missing because it is not classified as a heal. Correct.
The ultimate is we did this in like a previous pass about it being like a health share thing. And so we want to keep going down that direction with it because we think that made it more interesting. We'll see if that ends up biting us and we have to go back on that. But that's why that's not here.
Yeah, specifically aspect Nemesis.
Yes.
One thing that we just thought it was important to denote, Odin still gonna 100% anti-heal if people are in his cage.
We think that's a core identity to that ability, fully blocking healing. And then if we bring over Osiris and Serket, those characters that have 100% anti-heal, we'll also bring that over with them.
I think we'd also mentioned, like, Opwash, part of his core identity is anti-heal. So
Serket, Osiris, those gods,
we'll make sure that, like, if
I like this better.
Was, like, one of their identifying features,
I like this better.
Gets respected.
Nerf healing overall. Don't allow every character in the game to be efficient at anti-heal just based on a build. Have anti-healing gods that counter other gods.
Keep that strong
because when everybody has Divine, there's nothing interesting about it, and every good player is building Divine versus healing comps. So, like, you can go healing comps, but you're going to lack other things in other places.
Especially with the scaling of health from items. It's
also, fun fact,
it's not
spiciest
difficult
runs
to
like
build up the
Outwash
field
does in
and the
real
field,
life.
'cause you can just do that out of combat, so that's why I got more hits. But even outside of that, Pele is like I actually think our winningest god across basically every game mode.
Yep.
She's also pretty high band.
I tried to tell people, and they were like, "Oh no, this aspect's so bad."
Dude, the
like,
aspect is real good.
Yeah, aspect's good. Even non-aspect. Non-aspect's doing well too. So we felt like she needed additional changes. So she's losing about 100 max health at level 20, so we're decreasing her per health level. We're decreasing the scaling and the base damage of Pyroclast, and we're also lowering the movement speed as she gets an eruption. The number there doesn't really mean much because the way our movement speed calc works, and it's a curve that like I couldn't really describe. So just know that she's not going to move as much when she casts eruption.
Chat is noting that we did not mention Merlin's heal dash.
He is on my list still. I don't have numbers yet. I have, after this show, I have 3 hours till we branch, and I have like 3 things I still need to look at.
Yeah, I was going to call it out once we got through everything, but there is stuff on your list that will trickle in that we'll probably cover on our Monday show. When we
like Hui, I'm going to buff the aspect. I know what direction I want to go with it, but we think it was a little bit too niche on PTS, so we want to give it a little bit more. That's the kind of stuff that I still have to look at before we lock everything.
Cool. All right, we will move right along. Ra up next.
Ra, relatively easy heal to cast. You throw it on an area, you heal people pretty quickly. This didn't get the full 50% adjustment because you do have to stand in an area, but it got pretty heavily hit. And the ultimate, we actually kept the heal pretty strong on this one because it is an ultimate level cooldown. It's what you build the aspect for. And we felt like we didn't need to then do the compensation buff that we kind of did on the Cupid side. So Cupid's ult got more heavily hit than this ultimate did, but we also didn't do any like kind of compensation level change. So we think like this, if you're going to burn an ultimate level cooldown of a line skill shot and hit someone, I feel like it should probably be respected in that sense.
All right, next up is Rama. Let's take a break from talking about healing for a second.
Yeah, this is completely unrelated.
Not related to healing at all, but Rama getting some changes in the update.
Yeah, essentially these were his intended numbers, and when it got brought up that he just kind of felt underwhelming, I went and looked. I was like, oh yeah, the numbers are just wrong. He's supposed to have a base attack speed of 1. He was also supposed to have attack speed per level of 1.7, so this means that he was just missing out on attack speed that he should have had. And it might look minor, but especially the base attack speed number, when you buy 20% attack speed, it doesn't like take your current attack speed and do 20 on top of that. It takes your base amount and gives you 20% of that. So if you actually have like a 0.8 attack speed auto attack speed's just not as good for you. So this coming up means like I think the difference was like I went like a pretty standard build, and with the stim on, I went from like 2.84 attack speed to like 3.1.
Okay.
So it can be pretty impactful. So we might need to do more for Rom because we were looking at him because he was underperforming, but these base stats adjustments like these generally help a lot.
Yep. All right. Sobek up next. Sickening Strike.
Same note. This is a conditional. You have to hit targets. It's a base amount, so we didn't do a too heavy adjustment to it. He's also getting the healing reduction.
Cool.
Change.
All right, moving right along. Soul up next.
Yes, Radiance, we decreased the heal scaling. We didn't do a full 50% on it, but this is the part that can make it heal pretty significantly. We just felt like we should probably adjust that.
We'll talk about Soul a little bit later.
Yes.
I've got a whole section about bug fixes and other stuff post PTS towards the bottom.
So the people who are saying the tank, there's like a specific tank Soul build that was doing really well. We'll get there.
Yes, we'll get to it.
We're aware, chat.
This document is 21 pages, so we'll get to it, I promise. Thanatos up next.
Very similar to Kali. Just Thanatos isn't doing as well as Kali right now, so just slightly different numbers here. But we want to make sure the kill felt rewarding. We didn't adjust the minion kill because that is his pacing for like jungle clear and sustainability in the jungle. We decreased the heal he got from his Death Scythe. Someone just fell over.
Either somebody fell or somebody's walking on the roof or
maybe.
something.
I don't know.
We did also decrease the health cost since we were making the payoff for hitting it a little bit less. So if you whiff this, it shouldn't feel as bad. And then aspect of reaping the Soul Reap, we also decreased the scaling on that.
Cool. All right, we are nearing the end of Gods. Thor, aspect of Thunderstruck up next.
Yep. So this is for his aspect side of things. We didn't do quite a 50% adjustment here. You have to actually get in combat and hit a whole bunch of people, but it's close to halved.
All right, Ool. Another sneaky life stealer, you know?
Yes, I do actually think I did change this.
Okay.
So we're changing so much. I do think this one is now 4 to 14.
Okay.
I think we ended up cutting it in half, basically, instead of doing not quite half lifesteal adjustment. Especially with some of his interaction with some of the lifesteal items, this amount of base lifesteal was actually pretty good. So that's why we adjusted it further.
All right. And then last up on our list for God changes, Yamoja.
Yes, so Omi, it doesn't heal for as long. So that's kind of the adjustment we made, because if we were to half what it did, the numbers just end up feeling really small. So we just lowered the duration. So if you are currently maintaining it, it's actually going to be pretty similar, but a lot of the healing and shielding capability comes from Mending Waters. That one is now going to be decreased that heal is going to be decreased pretty much by the full half at the later ranks. And that's also because it does a lot of other things other than the healing.
Cool. All right, well, that is it for gods. Guys, you want to take a quick break? That was a lot. Need a sip of water? Pon, where's your drink?
I didn't get a drink. I end up, like, every time I bring a drink, I end up just not remembering it's there anyway.
All right, well, let's talk about items. Pon, these are not necessarily going to be healing focused in this section. Yes. Another thing that you alluded to earlier this week, there are going to be some tank adjustments here in this update as well, right?
Yeah, so this was another thing that came up just in feedback, was that like certain tank items just don't feel that great. Tanks sometimes don't feel that great. We see that actually, like, when you do build tank side, you're doing pretty well and pretty successful. When we look at the tank gods and look at some of the tank items, like, they actually do really well. But there is a slew of those tank items that were just underperforming. Yeah. So if you had a current build of, like, if you build like the current best tank items, you do pretty well. But we just want to expand what's available in that pool to you. So we looked at what the least performing tank items were and tried to bring them up.
Cool. All right, well, I will get into items. I think there are a few before we start talking about those, but Golden Blade is up first.
And then just very quick, the goal is really that we're not necessarily making tanks a whole bunch stronger. We're just making it so that you have more variety in the tank options that you build.
Cool. All right, let's talk about Golden Blade.
So it has a recipe change, which ended up being because of the healing pass, but then we didn't need it, but it still made sense to make this change. It just makes more sense building from Battle Axe and Manchu Bow, because when you use basic attack, you do a thing. It just makes sense. It also makes it a bit easier to build into. We also increased the strength on it just because this item was just underperforming across the board, and we think that we could use this level of change.
Cool.
I built this morning.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Shield Splitter up next. Decrease in cost and increase in strength.
Yep. Another it's a more bruiser item, but yeah, this one's underperforming. We think a small cost decrease, small strength increase is just going to help it. It's really also it's not as popular because you build it for specifically shield counters.
Right. Yeah.
But when it was being built, it wasn't quite doing what it needed to do.
Erosion, another kind of anti-shield item, just increasing both prots.
Yep. It was just underperforming. Feels like it could just use more prots.
All right, Leviathan's Hide. Some changes here. Let's talk about it, Pon.
So we want to put more of the onus on actually getting Leviathan's Hide stacks on the user of Leviathan Hide, because right now you're kind of at the whim of your opponent just needing to completely wail on you to actually get stacks. And now it's actually more like you're managing a cooldown. You need to be the onus on you to hit it. And if you are able to do this, you can actually stack it up a lot more effectively. I wagered that if you're really trying to optimize this, getting one stack every 12 seconds, because you're also getting cooldown reduction when you're hit, seems reasonable. And at that pace, you can get quite a lot of health from this item. And we just think it's also better that when you buy an item, it should be kind of you responsible for getting the effect.
Yeah. All right, up next on the list, Berserker Shield getting some changes.
Yep, Berserker Shield just really underperforming. The passive is good when it can proc in certain circumstances, but the baseline item just wasn't good enough.
All right, Musashi's Dual Sword. That's a fun item to say. Few changes here on this side.
It was the least successful crit item.
Yep.
It should feel better for the characters who actually care about the movement speed, especially like melee-focused crit characters. So cost decrease, strength increase, movement speed buff increase, movement speed duration increase, just across the board, making it feel better.
All right, Magi's Cloak, seeing a decrease in cost and increase in both protections.
Yeah, it released really strong, and then we nerfed it, and we kind of left it there. This is kind of bringing it back towards the center.
All right, Genji's Guard up next.
Again, just another item. It's good against magic damage, but it just wasn't quite good enough in what it was doing. So increased protection, increased cooldown rate helps it.
Cool. One of our newer tank-focused items, getting some changes here. Dwarven Plate increasing both prots, but also fixing an issue where it was only providing 10% and 20% of your protections, rather than the intended 12.5 and 25.
Yeah, of the trio, so it was Draconic Scales, Freya's Tears, and Dwarven Plate. The other two were actually 53-54% win rate, which is pretty good for tier 3s, because if you get to them, you generally have a higher win rate. This one was at 50, which for tier 3 item is generally underperforming. It should be aligned with them, and so we gave it more prots, and we also fixed an issue. I was going to buff this to 15 and 30%, but then when I went in there, I was like, oh, it's 10 and 20. That's just wrong.
Let's just fix it first before we. Moving right along, Draconic Scales, another one of our newer items. Lots of notes here on this one, Paul.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
So this one came up in a Titan talk about like why don't the scales contribute to my gladiator shield damage, right? And like or those types of effects. And the answer was, well, flat protection increases from items should count as item protection, but percentage ones don't because it becomes like an infinite loop type thing when you try and do work with that. So it felt like the scales, the flat portion should. We also had a note for Spirit Robe because someone said that it wasn't working with Spirit Robe. And when I went and did my test cases, Spirit Robe was working correctly. If you get Spirit Robe procced and you hit with Gladiator Shield, it does work. So whoever brought that up, I don't remember who it was. I would need to know actually what you tried to use because it's probably that ability isn't considering item protections correctly.
All right.
Achilles 2, maybe.
And I think last up for this item section, Jade Scepter, pretty popular item, going to be seeing a nerf.
Yeah, this one, especially with certain characters,
definitely needs a nerf.
I think Ganesh is like the one of the prime cases for this. The amount of damage you got and how frequently you could do it just ended up making it so that you kind of always had the combo going, and you didn't really feel like you had to sacrifice much for the combo.
Yeah.
We're cool with an item like this being a more combo fulfiller. That's kind of like what it was meant to be in the first place. It just should have appropriate stats for that case.
Yes. And then the cooldown, of course, increased by 20 seconds as
That's
well.
That's a good nerf.
All right.
It's already pretty expensive.
PTS balance and fixes.
15.
So
yes,
lots of games over the flash test.
20% cooldown increase.
And then another thing that I'll go ahead and mention, Kabir stopped in.
It doesn't kill it, right? It doesn't kill it completely.
Over the weekend for people who are interested in just slamming some customs in PTS and trying things out before the update.
All right, now here's the balance changes since PTS
but,
has changed.
Based off of what we've been seeing.
So those were the original changed, and now here's the balance and fixes because of the PTS that we've been talking about in the Ambassador Discord with them.
I know that getting on the PTS client and playing games can be like you have to download it and go through all that process. But we got
so those were all the initial changes. Now here's the additional changes on top of those because of the PTS testing.
We actually hit our limit of instances that we can support on the PTS, so we had to scale it up. Yep. So good job logging in and playing, guys.
So that's what these are. These are basically changes directly from the PTS phase, and I want to break them out because I thought it would be good to talk about them and also use it as an opportunity to talk about how the healing changes went on PTS. Yeah. So we can kind of go through line by line on them.
All right, let's get right into it. Heartwood Charm up first, fixed an issue on PTS where it was providing 20 cooldown rate instead of 10 as intended.
Yes, and Breastplate of Valor is probably with that as well. We saw basically the Heartwood Charm and Breastplate of Valor. It gave too much cooldown refund too quickly, so with a lot of the healing interactions, you could actually get quite an insane amount of healing up. And so we want these to be strong, but like obviously that synergy with them together was just too intense. So this would have probably been a day one, like we might have had to disable these items if they went live that way. So I think getting these nerfed this early was really
those are big nerfs.
All right, up next, Regrowth Strider. We're increasing the heal duration, but decreasing the heal per tick.
Yep, so if you get the heal, it's not going to be as impactful in the moment. It's going to be that kind of more long tail.
What's up, Becca? How you doing?
Refreshing it, it's not going to be as strong on you, but it is going to bring that kind of same level of sustain if you can keep it up in the long term.
All right, up next, Blood-Soaked Shroud. Decreased the enemy heal and the God heal bonus.
Yeah, we did this because we saw that this was still too easily to apply to a whole bunch of targets, so the healing was a bit too intense. We reduced it there. We did keep the kill bonus the same. So that part, if you get a whole bunch of kills in this, you can make Blood Soaked pretty strong because we didn't have that. Also, Death's Toll was the upgrade, Death's Embrace. That one didn't get adjusted because that one has enough limiting knobs on it that it wasn't too abused.
Spirit Robe, we've kind of talked about it earlier on the show, but we've decreased the heal per tick.
Yep, at 6% it was a bit too much, going down to 4%. Not
this
quite
is the way.
But this item was also discussed as just being very good in general, so just a slight nerf here goes a long way.
Ooh, this isn't a veiled reference.
Oh, no, it is not a veiled reference. This is just, that's the number it has to be.
Yeah.
And I could have done .6667 or
oh, man.
I was like, no, it's a number that's...
It's just the subconscious, you know?
Yeah.
All right, Daybreak Gavel, getting a few changes here, Pawn. I know you sent those over to me early this morning.
Yeah, we had
discussions about all this?
About, like,
I mean, I've known about this for...
Because there's definitely items that felt really strong, but
like
I was also looking
a long
for the
time.
items that didn't feel super useful.
So I think it's an
Gavel,
interesting
there's some
direction,
comparisons to
and
it
now
being kinda
these
like Soul Gem, but
changes
not quite as
are going
good.
to
So I wanted
solve
to make
most
it
of
so
the
that,
issues.
one,
These
the cost
changes
is down, the
are
health is up, so it just
all
gives
right.
you the
Bobby
ability
in
to continue
Final
forward.
K
But now you don't
did
have to actually heal as many targets.
you know,
In other
10
games
hours
too,
of play
like, it's gonna
tests
be
trying a
easy
bunch
for
of
you to
different
trigger,
stuff.
so
This stuff
you
was
should-
way
you
too
still have to
strong.
heal
This
as
made
many
too much
people to get
healing.
the scale
So this
bonus.
is going to bring stuff
All right,
back in
Baron
line
Zombie
to
up
so
next.
this is this is
Consigned
good.
Spirits, we fixed an issue where the speed buff could stack on itself.
Yeah, which has been probably a long-standing issue.
I'm
with staff
excited for it
immunity.
as well. Do I know if it's going to
But
feel
because
better?
You could now get 3 of them.
No, but I can tell you
with
healing and
Harbor
anti-heal
Charm
haven't
and
really
the fact that
felt
buff it
fun
became
or
apparent that, yeah, we need to
balanced
fix this issue.
throughout a lot of
Next up,
Smite
Princess
history or
Bari,
Smite 2's
Spirits
history.
Cadence, the ultimate. We fixed
So
an issue where you
having
could
a new
heal
way to go
while
about
in
it where
And same with the next version.
the thing I didn't like about
Yeah.
healing and anti-heal in
So,
Smite 2 was if you were a
you
low-level
shouldn't be able to
player or you
heal
just
while
had players who
you're
didn't
aced.
build anti-heal,
That's just
healing
been a
was
long
stupid
time
strong.
thing.
Unkillable.
to
Like,
also
is it
be
fun
that
to be
weird
unkillable
mix
for a
of other
minute? Yeah.
effects,
Is it
like
fun to play against
Soul
people who are
Separate.
unkillable? No. If I can't
also
get my
get the heal.
can mid to buy
You just didn't
divine, like
have
buddy,
that
we need
working
divine
handy
play,
in Smite
and they just
2.
don't buy it. It's
And
not fun and
because
it's
of that, you
frustrating.
could do a lot
When you
of
play with
things
a bunch of
with
good
these
people,
items, like
everybody
especially on
has
Soul,
anti-heal, which means
where
it's part of
you
every
could
kit,
just
which means the healing
heal
anti-heal
back to, like,
combination is always the
full
same math.
while you were immune, with a
Making
whole bunch of
healing
AoE
just be a
procs
lot
that
less
happen.
potent in general.
This just
But
gives
then
us a
allowing
proper point to balance
specific
the ability. It
characters
matches more Smite
to
1.
play into
It's-
healing
it's a
comps
more
and
intuitive
anti-heal
interaction
comps
how it
sounds way
works.
more fun
Fixed
than just
Cadence,
everybody being able to
this
buy
doesn't
anti-heal
matter
personally.
as much
So
as it did for Soul, but we just found
everybody
it
buying
consistent.
anti-heal and
Is-
everybody
is
buying
this also
healing, and it's
for,
just like it's kind of
Afro?
boring, especially if you're a healer. Oh, I have a healer, but they have all
No,
3
Afro
anti-heal
ulti
items.
weak.
It's like, okay, well now I'm kind of
Like,
bored.
that damage immunity doesn't work the same way.
Okay.
Whereas it's like, oh, I picked Afro and they picked Opwash. Like, well,
Technically, Disapparate.
just kind of how it is.
Here's Smite 1 inconsistency for you. Just this, a little taste of what we deal with when we go back to Smite 1, right? Like, Aegis definitely blocks healing. Soul was described
Might not
as
be
leaving the
better
battle-
per se, but it's just going to be
Because
different,
also, if
and
you walk
different
into a
might be more
fountain,
fun.
You can't buy and you can't heal from the
Whether
fountain.
it's better or not,
Afro
we'll see.
ult, if that blocked healing, that would just be bad. They're all damage immunity,
But they're different. You
but
know?
they're different. So they're different.
Sweet. All right. Up next, just a few general things. Last on the list in this kind of PTS balance section.
Yeah, so fixed quite a few specific types of heals that were working or not working. I still have a few more to go look at. Kerber's 3 I have to go fix because the way that was set up was very different from how we set up all the other heals, so that one I still need to go look at. But we found a lot of interactions with things like you could, by having a lifesteal item with an ability, you could proc Vital. So you could just get full Vital stacks basically anytime you use an ability with lifesteal, stuff like that. So also, we fixed a lot of interactions with item interactions, like Sanguine Lash you could sell for positive gold, which was a fun bug.
Yep.
Gluttonous Grimoire didn't have its damage cap of 33% health, so you could sit AFK farming monsters for 99999 stacks and one-tap someone. Just this, the amount of stuff we fixed, I couldn't actually list it all. When I went back to like put it all together, I was like, this is just too much. But it was an opportunity, like, yeah, thanks to everyone who played the PTS and sent in bug reports. We were able to fix a lot of stuff
Absolutely.
this cycle.
All right. Well, we've got one more section on this doc. I'm going to bring us back to cams, though, before we
Heal
get
off
into
clones?
it, just because
Yeah,
we do
I
want to
do.
preface this section.
I know you mentioned it the other day.
We do have quite a few
Clones are very
conquest level
strong,
changes
and
in
only a
this
few
update,
people
but
have
we wanted to make
clones.
sure that we communicated
So if they
that
can
this
absorb
is
my
not
damage,
the
if they can block a
conquest
Nethal,
pass,
if they
correct.
can take
Yeah,
away
this
the
is-
advantage
this
I
is- with all
have,
the
I
stuff
don't
that we
mind
did
me
for
in a
15,
specific scenario
the
getting an
giant
advantage
list of
from
stuff.
them.
We didn't want to.
If they can block advantages I would normally have, if they can block my Nethal, if they can block my autos, I don't mind me also being able to use them.
On going forward for Conquest as a more
So what,
major
3 gods?
class,
Donza,
we
Morgan,
wanted to make sure you guys had
and
something in the interim.
you can't heal off Loki's
So,
too.
Not the full pass. This isn't going to magically change Conquest across the board, but this is.
Yeah, I'm
something
fine
that's
with.
gonna
Yeah,
make Conquest
I'm
better.
okay with it.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I will.
sure.
Go ahead, Killian.
I was just kind of tagging
Give
on,
us the
like,
spiel.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to spiel. This is the pawn show today. But no, I should say
Yeah, I'm okay with
this
it.
is we wanted to do something. We didn't want to leave it how it is, right? Like Pawn was saying, this isn't.
If I can target
the
it,
full, we aren't like cool.
right,
We're
to
happy.
where,
we're
like,
done
it
after
eats
this,
my
right? This is just
Uller axe,
nudging it a little bit more in a better
then
direction,
if like my
hopefully, because we
2
know
on
that Conquest
Baron
players
is
have
going to heal me
felt
if
a
I
little
hit
bit left
somebody,
out,
and it's going to.
we
I'm okay with
agree
it.
that Conquest needs some help.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. All right. Well, I will bring up the handy dandy desktop, and before we get into the changes, Matt from the level
You
design
can't
team
heal off
wrote
the
up a
board,
quick
no, it
little
has to be a-
TLDR on what we're kind of doing.
All right,
here. So
Conquest changes,
we
chat.
got a slew of changes.
Conquest changes.
Focused on addressing 2 main things, and the first
No,
one
yeah,
was
you can't
we
heal
just
off
felt
for
like
board
there
with
was
Baron
too
2
much
as an
safe
example.
farm on the map, specifically on the side lanes, right, Pon?
Yeah, so we want people to feel
Conquest
like they
changes.
can contest things, and getting a way, like lane pressure and poking people out has more impact. Right now, if you poke someone out in lane and they're forced to kind of be under their tower, and you go to take something of theirs, they can just go to the side harpies. They could even go to your side harpies and farm that. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that was around the map that was pretty accessible that made it so that you could reasonably choose not to engage in actually contesting anything and not come out of the laning phase that much worse for wear. Laning phase, you should fight your opponent. Yeah, there's room for like opportunity for some safe farm, but like the amount that we had was just too much.
Yeah.
We asked them to delay the ranked reset, but they said, honestly, we're on a schedule with ranked, and there's going to be so many changes this year that it doesn't make sense to delay one because of a reset, so they're not going to delay, which is
one of the
understandable.
side camps has been changed to oracles to grant vision of the teleporter for some time. So.
Yeah,
Contestable
so
Cyclops camp on
the
solo
Cyclops
side
camp
now,
that's here,
or on
doing
both sides
solo
now grant
is more
experience,
worth
so
going
it's
for
something to
now.
fight over. That's
The
good.
side
Side
camps
camps now
are
spawn
less
later and less
frequent, they
often.
spawn
That's
later.
good.
So
And then
you
the side
won't have them as
teleporters unlock
reliable
slightly
as
earlier,
farm.
but one of the side
And
camps
then
is now
the
oracles to where you'll have
give you
vision of the
utility rather
teleporters.
than other things that you could
So they spawn
just,
less
like, raw
often.
amounts of
The
stuff.
contestable mid camps offer
Right, and then the
experience, which
second
will be
thing,
very good because
kind of,
those are neutral
where
camps
some
that
of
will
these
make you fight
Conquest
over it,
changes are planning to
and
address
you'll now have
is that
vision of
objectives are
teleporters
just
as
a
well.
little bit too lethal.
Yeah, so this is. I don't want this to be conflated with too
Wait.
easy.
Yes.
Right, like because I think generally the camps, like the objectives, when your team is actually there and on them, they actually die.
When are
pretty
objectives too
quickly, which is
lethal?
another thing we'll end up discussing. But they
Who
also end up
has
taking
ever
quite a big
sat
chunk
here
out
and
of the
thought,
team
you know
taking
what?
it, or if like
These
you need to
objectives
start
do
it
too
early
much
'cause your team's gonna
damage.
be there, and you want to take a few hits of it, you
Why?
might be half health pretty quickly before like your team can get there and then start tanking it, which means that your opportunity to pull it while the enemy team might be trying to get in position still, you see an opportunity, you end up having to pass up on those, or you feel like it's actually too
Ooh, they
risky
took
for us
my
to play the
idea,
advanced
W.
game of, like,
They
Fire
took my
Giant.
idea.
And
Taking
that's
hits
what a
from
lot of,
boss
like,
attacks
infantry
applies a
fight
debuff that
damage
makes you
comes
deal
where
less
pull
damage
the
to
Fire
specifically
Giant,
the
You're
boss.
trying to
and
bait,
you're trying
yeah.
to bait them, but if the Fire Giant's actually too good at killing you, it ends up causing a situation where you don't want to do that because you might actually just completely lose the follow-up fight if it's too
W.
lethal.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to go for the objective because it puts you in a bad situation if
Yeah.
the enemy team comes in and fights. So you have to get a pick before you can start trying to do the objective to force the fight or to
Yeah.
force something.
Yeah, so the objectives should generally take a little bit longer to kill. I think Pyromancer was the one that we felt was like actually in a pretty good spot in this regard. It's also a little bit easier to get access to as well. So they're going to be a little bit harder to kill.
Has anybody
but
really
they also
thought that
just
the
won't
objectives
kill you
do
as
too
hard
much
back.
damage?
Yes.
I do like that
All
they're
right.
making it so you
Well,
can't solo it as
shall we get into
effectively,
just
but
the individual
has anybody,
changes
like, I've never
here?
heard that complaint
And
that
one thing not
objectives
called
do too
out-
much
so,
damage.
I
Go ahead.
want to go over that last bit one more time because we said it pretty quickly. So they should not do as much damage to you,
Yes.
but they should take a little bit longer to kill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So objectives should be harder and take a little bit longer, but by going for them, you aren't getting yourself damaged so much that it's a bad idea to go for it before you
I
get
don't hate
picked,
it, 'cause then it's not gonna make
hopefully
people just
there's more
disengage.
action or
I don't hate this
Excuse me,
change. I
action
just
around
don't.
the
I just
objectives,
have never heard anybody
um,
think or
with this
say
change.
that the
Yeah.
objectives do too much damage.
Back
Just
to the
haven't heard that
handy-dandy
complaint or
desktop.
concern.
Going over the change list, let's talk about oracles first. Vision granted from this camp now reveals enemy wards inside the Gold Fury pit.
Yep. So this also kind of maps onto the other note, which is like
Makes
you want
sense.
to be able like not only was there too much side farm, we also want to make things that are contestable more worth it. So having oracles be more impactful.
Oracle's more
choosing to
impactful
ignore
now,
them
make
now
more
is
sense
going
to
be your
get. They're not just
detriment.
something you grab because you need experience. They
Next,
will
the
show
Fire Giant,
wards in the Gold Fury,
kinda
which
touched
means
on
you
it,
can get rid of
but,
them. Which
there's
means
a
they
lot
won't
of
have any
change
vision.
here. Pon, if
It
you
won't be
wanna
like you both have
summarize for
vision.
me.
Yes,
Like, oh, they got
very
oracles, let me
briefly,
ward
takes less
gold.
damage from
Now
purple
you'll
strikes, which
see
means that shred
wards
build
within
means
the
that
Gold
like,
Fury.
you want your carries there to still kill it. Like they're
Yeah.
going to be the main source of damage on it, but it just won't be so crazy swingy in that regard.
30% less damage
basic
from
attacks
crit.
don't deal a percentage
Basic
of max
attacks deal
health.
2.5%.
This normalizes it across the cast, and we also have decreased the base strength scaling that it gets. So in short, against squishies, this will be pretty significantly less damage. Against tanks, this will be less damage, just not as much of a difference because tanks right now, they do tank it pretty well, but it's still, we think, even too lethal for them. But we don't want to like half the damage they take because at that point they won't actually take.
I still
any
don't
damage
understand.
at all.
Yeah.
We don't want to go that far.
I don't think
we
I've
also have the
even to this day, like
so some of these I know came in later.
this is what I
so
don't understand. Even to
I'm
this
reading through these
day,
right
if
now
you
as
tried
well.
to
The
take
Scorch
Fire
Blade is
Giant and
the
Smite one
one
at
that's
15
really
minutes, y'all are getting
reduce the
fucked up.
healing by,
Right
3
now,
points
we
on
can
my
take it
victim level,
easily.
Reduce the damage dealt to the Fire Giant.
2 or 3
for
people
more
at
than
15
5
minutes could
seconds.
take
So
it.
this is the
Without dying.
debuff that actually applies to the target.
Without
that's taking the
juggling
Fire
it barely
Giant attack.
either.
This just means that you won't.
I just don't.
This should be that.
I just don't understand
If you're
this.
the person that pulled it, you're not getting as.
Who
penalized.
has been complaining that Fire Giant and
Right,
Gold Fury do too much
let's
damage?
talk
Because
about
I've
the other
never heard
primary
it.
objective
Yep,
on
and these are the
map.
damage. This is like the damage that it deals.
Yes.
So these are just the things about like normalizing the damage across the board, and things that are avoidable, they can actually hurt pretty significantly.
Yeah. Gold Fury, similar changes to the Fire Giant. You've got the same takes 30% less damage, increased lifesteal effectiveness, and some other changes here.
Yep, basically a mirror. Less damage from crits means that won't just blow them up instantaneously.
I don't know about this. I don't understand this all that much.
Lifesteal a bit from them, so
This
if you
is
actually have
nerfing.
sustain is a bit more valuable against them, especially because we are
This is
reducing lifesteal across the
nerfing
board. Basic attacks
objectives.
percentage of health.
Yeah, it does make them take longer to kill,
and
but
then,
who's
the render
dying
chain,
to
if you were the
these?
person taking it, it shouldn't be as intense.
Cool. All right, Pyromancer up next. This is the objective that's should feel relatively the same if you're playing in live compared to Open Beta 15.
Yeah, the changes here are just less extreme. They end up normalizing out to similar-ish values, but we want to make sure that things did consistent across the board, like how you interact with them.
Yeah. All right, the dual lane buff camp. The initial spawn time has been pushed back from 1 minute to 1 minute 30.
Yep, so just gives them more time to like actually be in place to contest it.
Yeah. Next up, the totem. The initial spawn time has been pushed up from 2 minutes to 1 minute 30.
Yep, so if you want to contest it, it's going to be a more consistent timing, and that also means that they end up matching where you, like, if you go between the roles, you'll actually be like, okay, well, I contested this similar time.
Yeah. All right, the side teleporters. The unlock time has been pushed up from 10 minutes to 6 minutes, but then I feel like we should talk about kind of the other things on the side lanes as well, because they kind of work together in this one kind of symbiotic relationship. So we talked about the Cyclops camp getting XP rewards in addition to gold.
Yep.
The side A camp A, the one closer to the lane, now spawns 1 Elder and 2 small harpies. The spawn time has been pushed back to 2 minutes, and we've increased the respawn delay from every 2 minutes to every 3 minutes.
Yeah, so pretty significant cut to the amount of camps that you're able to just farm there and clear.
Yeah. And then the side camp B, the one closest to the teleporter, as we mentioned, this has been converted into an Oracle's camp, and then killing this camp will grant vision around that teleporter for 3 minutes.
Yep, so just different utility for killing the camps. It's not just I'm just going to go farm this to be safe. And if you choose not to farm it, you're going to be foregoing potentially like pressure like on the Cyclops camp, which like that one's going to be a lot more contested in this patch.
Yeah, and then we've also increased the respawn delay on the Oracle's camp from 2 minutes to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So going to be up a lot less often.
Yeah, really significant hit to the amount of times that's up.
And they don't respawn at the same time. So if you are trying to do them on cooldown, it's going to take more time to get less benefit out of it.
Yeah, you'd have to wait to actually have them paired together if you're going to go there, or you have to go there twice, which is a lot of time loss.
Sweet. All right, well, that is everything that I have in the Conquest changes section. And that was a long doc. Oh, my goodness.
That's just a lot of things.
Lots
this
of
patch
stuff.
Ended up being really,
And it's been
really big.
2 weeks. Yeah. But yeah, lots of really exciting stuff from all the god changes, all the item changes, some of the tank-specific items getting a little bit more buffs, some Conquest level changes, not necessarily a large Conquest pass, but just some changes to address some of the player feedback that we've been seeing over the past few updates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully, like this is a step in the right direction. While we work on some other things, we have our team's working on some stuff right now that I can't talk too much about, but just trying to make the game better. Like we talked about lighting and stuff. We're meeting again on Monday to talk more about like further changes to Conquest gameplay. Like we're aware that there are some things that we want to do. We're just locking in a final plan, and this is the next step of let's get it a little bit better for the short term and keep going from there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, after this show, I will save out this doc and share it on social media. Again, everything that we covered today is kind of subject to change. There may be additions or subtractions based on what Pond can get done in the next 3 hours after the show. But
I do have one other change from what we previously announced for this update. As of right now, it does not look like Quick Play Joust is going to make the update. We're still having just some bot AI issues where